Necati Arabaci, the most brutal Hells Angels. President ever across Europe's underworld, few names generate as much tension as Necati Arabaci, known as Nico, or the godfather of Cologne. Born in Germany to Turkish immigrant parents, he climbed from nightclub bouncer to one of the most feared figures ever associated with the Hells Angels motorcycle club. His story is not just about one man's rise, but about how outlaw biker gangs built networks stretching from Germany's red light districts to Turkey and beyond. This is the complex, often violent journey of a man whose life continues to fascinate police, journalists, and anyone trying to understand organized crime. Early life and roots in Cologne. Necati Arabaci was born in Cologne on February 14, 1972, to parents who had emigrated from Turkey seeking better prospects. Growing up in a working-class district, he experienced both opportunity and tension. Migrant families building new lives, but also neighborhood disputes and the pull of street culture. By his late teens, Arabaci gravitated towards Cologne's nightlife economy, taking work as a bouncer at busy clubs. The job offered more than wages. It opened a door to a world where muscle, reputation, and quick thinking shaped careers. Night after night, he learned to read people, calm trouble, or, if necessary, push it out the door. Those lessons about authority, money, and risk would later underpin a far more dangerous path than anyone in his family imagined. From bouncer to underworld player. By the mid-1990s, Arabaci was no longer just guarding doors. According to German investigators, he had begun organizing teams of doormen and security staff across Cologne, gaining leverage in the city's lucrative red light district. His network reportedly ensured that venues relied on his men for order and protection, giving him influence over who could operate there. Brothels and nightclubs were steady earners for whoever controlled access, security, and clientele. Arabaci allegedly expanded these operations through trusted frontmen, collecting profits while keeping a careful distance from day-to-day management. That discretion, combined with a reputation for toughness, attracted useful allies, and inevitably drew the attention of rival groups and law enforcement agencies watching the city's underground economy. Connection with the Hells Angels press reports and court records from the late 1990s and early 2000s placed Arabaci inside the Cologne chapter of the Hells Angels. Founded in California in 1948, the club had grown into a global organization with chapters in more than 30 countries, blending motorcycle brotherhood with an undercurrent of organized crime. In Germany, about 650 full members operated under a rigid hierarchy, enforcing loyalty with reputation and, at times, violence. Allegations of extortion, drug smuggling, and human trafficking followed several charters, sparking clashes with rivals such as the Bandidos and Satudara MC. For Arabaci, the Hells Angels offered prestige, protection, and an international network that could support business ambitions. For investigators, his name increasingly linked to a lattice of bikers and fixers that blurred the line between outlaw culture and serious criminal enterprise. Arrest and imprisonment. In 2002, after years of surveillance, German police mounted a sweeping operation targeting Cologne's underworld. Arabaci was arrested and charged with running a criminal organization, human trafficking, tax offenses, and related crimes. The raid marked one of the largest moves against biker-linked figures in the region, signaling how seriously authorities regarded his influence. 2 years later, he was convicted of tax crimes and sentenced to 9 years in prison. Prosecutors also cited evidence of plots against officials, including an alleged attempt to target a senior investigator overseeing biker crime. Even behind bars, Arabaci was said to keep a hand in businesses through trusted intermediaries, a sign of how far his reach and loyalty networks extended beyond physical walls. Deportation and new bases. A procedural error shortened his sentence, and in 2007 he was deported to Turkey on the condition that he not return to Germany. Rather than disappear from public life, Arabaci settled in Izmir, and according to European intelligence files, took a place within the Hells Angels Nomads Turkey chapter. The move gave him a base beyond the immediate reach of German law. From there, investigators suspected he nurtured contacts with German and Spanish criminal circles, blending legitimate ventures with more opaque dealings. Citizenship laws made extradition difficult, offering him breathing room while he quietly rebuilt parts of his network. To police across Europe, his post-deportation years suggested not retirement, but an evolution in how he sustained power. Rumored leadership in Europe. By the early 2000s, with several senior bikers arrested or sidelined, speculation grew that Arabaci might step into an informal leadership role across parts of the club's European network. Intelligence briefings in Spain, Germany, and the Netherlands suggested he helped shape strategy from afar, weighing in on disputes between charters and overseeing profit flows from red light districts. Though prosecutors never proved the claim in court, his name appeared frequently in confidential reports about trafficking routes, protection rackets, and covert meetings between senior figures. For police, the challenge lay in separating rumors from evidence, while for bikers, the whispers reinforced his aura as a behind-the-scenes operator with influence beyond Turkey. Conflicts, alliances, and police pressure. Arabaci's reported sway inevitably attracted friction. German media chronicled turf wars between Hells Angels factions and rival gangs such as Satadara MC over control of brothels and transport corridors. Yet sources also pointed to truces quietly brokered with groups like the United Tribunes, proof of how diplomacy can temper violence inside outlaw circles. At the same time, police agencies in Germany, Spain, and Scandinavia pressed ahead with charges of extortion, trafficking, and racketeering. Spanish authorities issued an EU-wide arrest warrant in 2015, citing organized crime intelligence. But Turkey's long-standing policy of shielding its citizens from extradition complicated every attempt to bring him before a foreign court. Later, arrests and shifting role Turkish security services briefly detained Arabaci in 2018 and again in 2020, part of periodic sweeps targeting organized crime figures. Each time, prosecutors cited insufficient evidence to hold him, and he walked free within weeks. These episodes underscored both the limits of policing opaque biker networks and the caution authorities showed in gathering watertight cases. Observers say Arabaci now operates less as a street-level enforcer and more as a strategist, guiding ventures that blur the line between legitimate business and outlaw culture. Even if he avoids public displays, his name continues to surface in biker disputes, reminding investigators that influence rarely vanishes entirely. Life today. Now in his 50s, Arabaci is said to live a quieter life in Turkey, far from Cologne's neon-lit clubs where his reputation was forged. Reports hint at attempts to diversify into property or hospitality, steps that could polish a legacy tarnished by violence and vice. Others argue that such moves merely mask an enduring presence in Europe's underworld. Whatever the case, he maintains a network of long-standing allies and a reputation for caution. For younger bikers, his career illustrates how figures once at the center of conflict can step back, trading notoriety for longevity while still shaping the culture from the margins. Legacy of a controversial president, Necati Arabaci's path, from immigrant streets to alleged European kingmaker, captures the overlap between motorcycle brotherhood, organized crime, and cross-border law enforcement. To police, his story symbolizes the difficulty of pursuing transnational networks that blend camaraderie with criminal enterprise. To admirers inside biker culture, he remains a symbol of resilience, strategy, and unflinching calculation. Yet his rise carries a darker ledger, communities scarred by violence, trafficking, and intimidation, and the persistent strain on public safety. Whether history remembers him as a shrewd survivor or as a cautionary tale, his legacy speaks to the reach and adaptability of Europe's outlaw biker scene. Necati Arabaci remains a figure who divides opinion. Admired in some quarters of the biker world, pursued by police across borders, his path shows how reputation, loyalty, and opportunity can propel a man to extraordinary heights inside outlaw circles, yet also lock him in a life of scrutiny and risk. Understanding such figures is essential for grasping how organized crime operates and how fragile communities can be when fear and money meet power. Thanks for watching this deep dive. If you value clear-eyed looks at crime, law, and the people caught between them, hit like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that separate myth from documented reality.